All right, for the moment, we have our reporter, Moloko Moloto, who, of course, is in Bloemfontein. Moloko, Dr. Nandipha Makudumana, spending a while behind bars now until her bail application to be heard on the 3rd and 4th of next month. However, her father, Mdluli, has been granted that 10,000 rand bail with strict conditions. Can you remind us what those conditions are?
Hello, Masego. Well, the father of Dr. Nandipha Makudumana, Mr. Mdluli, was granted a 10,000 rand bail by the magistrates court here in Bloemfontein. And of course, he was told that he will have to remain in the magisterial jurisdiction where he will be confined to, and he can only leave with the permission of the investigating officer. But also he needs to report to the police station at least once every day. And obviously he cannot leave the country. He was also told that he will not directly or indirectly get in contact with any of the witnesses, with the presiding officer sending a stern warning that should he violate those conditions, his bail will be revoked and a warrant of arrest will be issued and he will be back in the cells. And as matters stand, he hasn't walked out of the police cells. I'm just going to ask my colleague Deborah Masilo to show you some of the family members here. They are discussing. They just walked out of the premises. I'm not too sure specifically what the issue is that they are discussing. A short while ago, they were with the lawyers, and of course, they have to come up with that 10,000 rand in order for this gentleman to be released. The other three accused, including Dr. Nandipha Makudumana, they remain in custody for now until they return to the same magistrates court next month. And the state has already indicated that it will oppose their bail application. And as matters stand, of course, we saw the convoys carrying those three accused leaving the magistrates court. They are no longer here. The only person who is still here would be Mr. Mdluli Sikeleni. And of course, it will depend as to whether they manage to come up with this money that is required for him to be a free man for the moment.
All right, Moloko Moloto, let's bring in other reporters who are on the ground. We've got Silindelo Masikane as well in Bloemfontein, and we have lethiwe Mdluli in KZN. Sli, let's start with you. Of course, the doctor is heading back to Biza Makate Correctional Services in Kroonstad, where she'll be under heavy police guard, I imagine.
Absolutely. We saw that convoy leaving the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court, taking her back to that prison in Kroonstad. And you know that with this particular matter, we know that in particular Thabo Bester, from what we've heard from DCS, is being monitored 24/7. The likelihood is that the same is happening with Dr. Nandipha, who of course is one of the two who had to be deported back from Arusha, Tanzania. And for the state, it's going to be quite critical that these two remain alive behind bars as they prepare to go on trial, because we know that there are speculations around who they may be connected to in the higher echelons of society in terms of the access that they had and the kind of activity that they were able to do, the fraudulent activities that they were able to do. Now, Mdluli Sikeleni, Dr. Nandipha's father, has been granted bail. And from what we understand, of course, is that the state has also withdrawn the murder charge against him. I am monitoring the situation outside of court along with my colleague Moloko Moloto. And what we are trying to capture now is Mdluli Sikeleni leaving the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court. Perhaps let's just take a listen to the NPA's spokesperson with regards to why they didn't oppose bail and whether they'll be opposing bail with the other three accused.
Exceptional circumstances in a case which we took into consideration, and we decided as state we are not going to oppose his release on bail. But the request that we made is that there must be conditions attached to that release on bail. And what we're hoping is that he's going to abide by all the conditions that are attached to his release on bail.
All right, let's go to lethiwe Mdluli, who's looking at a very heartbreaking story. A lot of stories would probably go forgotten because of this Thabo Bester saga. But lethiwe, thousands of KZN pupils who rely on the national school feeding program are likely to attend classes on empty stomachs and even be sent home on empty stomachs. That's because of the food that has not been delivered since classes resumed last week because of the Department of Education in KZN. What are they saying?
Well, Masego, approximately 5,400 schools have been affected by this, and unfortunately today is day 4, and majority of these schools still haven't received any food parcels. We've been visiting some schools here in Durban, and I spoke to principals regarding this issue, and they are saying that they're going to have to let go of learners a bit early because of this ongoing crisis. And unfortunately, we've been trying to speak to the Department of Education about this. They are not really forthcoming with any information. Last week we visited Harding on Friday, and we were speaking to the Ugu district schools, and they were saying that they were expecting food parcels to be delivered on Wednesday, on the first day of school after coming back from the holidays. But unfortunately, the food did not pitch up. We also spoke to some suppliers who've been working with the Department of Education for the past 10 years to 15 years, and they were sharing how they were not told that they will not be getting a tender this time around, and only just one person has been awarded this multi-million rand tender, and we're trying to get information from the Department of Education why they changed the system and why was one person basically chosen to supply over 5,400 schools with food. But right now I'm joined by Skiso Sonjika, who's from the Education Committee portfolio here in KwaZulu-Natal at the KZN Legislature. Mr. Sonjika, just take us through what is currently happening. Have you spoken to the MEC? Why are they running away from the media in terms of providing answers? What is going on?
Good afternoon. I'm not sure about whether they are running away. I think they would be best positioned to answer that. We are aware of the problem as the portfolio committee, and I'm in constant contact with the MEC and the HOD. I have actually met them last week Thursday to try and find out what are the issues are. We are concerned, mainly because this program, this feeding program, it's meant to really assist the poorest of the poor, who in some instances we are aware that it's the only meal that they get because of the economy climate in our country. We are awaiting a detailed report in terms of what were the issues. We were told there were some glitches because the program might have been teething because they changed service providers. As you will know, and your listeners, that as the portfolio committee, we don't get involved who gets a tender, who doesn't get a tender. But of course, we give the department money. We know there is money, so we are interested to find out what are the issues. Of late, this morning when I got an update from the MEC, was that the situation is much better than last week. Quite a few issues that were raised about Ugu and some areas of Zululand, which we thought then they were attending to them. I am expecting to meet with the MEC again this afternoon so that I can then be appraised on how far they've gone in terms of the detail about who got the tender, why were the problems when they were supposed to start delivering. That is information that we don't have until we have written a letter to the department that they must then write a full detailed report. But our interest is that this matter is resolved and is resolved urgently. We will find out if they have really attended to some of the issues that they spoke about.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you.
Well, Masego, that is Skiso Sonjika, just basically taking us through some of the issues that they are facing. He is saying that he's going to be meeting with the Education MEC and discuss this further. But right now what we do know is that majority of the schools in KwaZulu-Natal are still without food.
All right, thank you very much. That was your eNCA lunchtime update from all angles with reporters Moloko Moloto, Silindelo Masikane and lethiwe Mdluli.